Hello everyone, my name is Debbie Alamrew.
So what was the things that you did? What was your first work?
A purpose pursued passionately is powerful. So I used to write everything. So you don't have to be Ethiopian, you don't even have to be African. Until you love who you are as a person, everything is hard. Poetry is like prayer. If it's, going for a walk, if it's listening to music. I know it's scary, but you have to do it scared anyway.
Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? This week My Africa show has started. I am trying to keep my voice as high as possible. As you guys can tell, it's raining, it's a bit cold, but trust me, the conversation that we're about to have is going to be warm enough. We are going to have an amazing conversation with the one and only, the poet, trying to describe her Ethiopian feeling, shall I say, through her poets and different other forms. So I'll be having a very nice conversation with Debbie Alamrew is here. Debbie,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm sorry for just like putting you out here in the cold, but I just want to have this conversation.
It's a little vibe, it's giving rainforest. I'm not mad.
Cute. And you're wearing green, so you're giving
I'm
it back.
matching, yeah.
All right, so I know there are going to be some major things that we'll be talking about, especially with the journey that you have taken in becoming a person that is so good at explaining what it feels like to be diaspora and what it feels like to be an Ethiopian and live abroad. But before that, let's get to know Debbie.
Okay.
All right? Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Debbie Alamrew. I was born in London, and then I spent my early childhood in Nigeria. So my dad worked for Shell. He was a Shell executive, and we lived in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Warri, before moving back to London at the age of 7. And then I finished high school in London, and I don't know, as a kid, I was very much like, I have a dream to live in America. I don't know why. My sister was in London. I did have a sister and a brother in America, but I just was so determined to move there, and my parents didn't want to go. So at 17, I packed up my bags, got a one-way ticket, and moved to the US. So I went to college in Dallas, and then I went to law school in Maine. And then I practiced law for a little bit, but I decided I wanted to pursue entertainment and this creative path that I know was always a part of me. So I moved to LA, which was a dream. I lived in LA for 4 years, and then I moved to New York.
What? You've been moving
Yes. I'm in New York now. Well, I mean, I've been back and forth to Addis for 6 months, but I'm a New York girly. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right. So now you just told us that you've graduated by law.
Yes.
So how did you got to a point you'd be like, okay, I want to be able to express myself through arts. I want to write my feelings. I want to share what I have through my writings. When was the moment that you realized you have to do that?
So I was actually very young. I was 6 or 7 when I first started writing poetry.
Okay.
But it wasn't necessarily personal poetry. I just loved reading. I loved reading poems. My dad bought me a book. I actually recently found it was 1,000 poems for kids or something like that. And I recently found that. But I used to read those poems every single day. But it wasn't until I was about 11, 12, 13 that I really started using poetry to express how I was feeling. So I was very shy as a kid, which I know anybody that knows me today was what? But I used to write everything. So I wouldn't express, not even to my parents, I wouldn't share how I was feeling. So anything. I don't know. I just was really, really reserved. It was very, very personal to me. I don't know what I was going through at that age. But I used to write everything, and it would come out in the form of poetry. So I have literally notebooks on notebooks on notebooks of my poems.
You have the notebooks now?
I do. They're in boxes, poems that I used to write as a kid. And it wasn't until I was in college that I performed for the first time. So that took it to another level when I realized people could actually resonate with my words, and it wasn't just for me,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like writing is somehow, not only writing, but arts in general is something that is within ourselves as human beings.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we love to dance, we love it. Even very simple thing that we do every day, like cooking, is an art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Food is an art.
Yep.
So I just feel like the way that you were drawn to that and the decision that you've taken is really important, because you're gonna get a lot of money by that, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the journey that you took after you decided to follow that passion. So what was the things that you did? What was your first work Your first
Yeah.
appearance, what was it? Tell us.
So I would perform in LA at open mic nights, and you just never know the crowd you're gonna get. So you could have, like, for example, I had a night where I was performing a Black Lives Matter poem,
Okay.
and like the whole front row was like a white audience, and you don't know how they're gonna receive that.
Yeah.
Now, lucky for me, what I was saying wasn't negative. It's a message that everybody has to hear. So it was well received. But again, you just never know. So I think that built up my confidence a lot. And then in 2019, I published my first poetry book, A Purpose Pursued Passionately is Powerful.
Say that again?
A purpose pursued passionately is powerful.
Oh, nice.
So I like alliteration.
Okay.
But so that was a big deal for me. It was my first piece of work that I was really putting out into the world. And that was received well. So I was excited. And then it took me a while to put out something else, but I moved to New York. I did the poetry scene. I got the chance to perform in Ghana, in London, in Addis Ababa, in New York, and like around different cities in America. And then it wasn't until last year that I came to Ethiopia to record my debut spoken word poetry album, Uncovering Me.
ጌታ ሆይ በምታደርግልኝ ሁሉ ከልብ አመሰግንሃለሁ በደስታዬም በሐዘኔም ጊዜ ካጠገቤ አልተለየኸኝም
I don't think it's common to see people doing poetry albums, right? I don't,
Yeah.
Especially in our culture, it's not common at all.
Yeah.
So I want you to take us through the journey of doing your album. What does it feel like? What was the major theme?
Yeah.
What kind of Devi that do we see in that album? What were you like?
So, okay, so as far as poetry with music,
Yeah.
I also had always performed just like with no music, no background, just me and my voice, and that was it. I will say the first time I performed with like a band behind me was several years ago in Fundaga.
Okay.
So it was the first time my parents got to see me perform live.
Okay.
And there was something about like connecting with the music, because I love music.
Yeah,
I just
so
can't
nice,
sing,
yeah.
but like I love music. So there was something about hearing my words over music that like really triggered something in me.
Okay.
And then there are a few poets that I really love that have put out albums. So again, it's not common in our culture. I think it's becoming bigger, you know, in the Western world. But a particular poet of like one of my favorite poets, J.I.V.,
Okay.
he did a track with Jay-Z and Kanye West called Never Let Me Down. Yep. And the end bridge is literally poetry. It's him spitting poetry over a track.
Okay.
And that track I've loved for several years. So it all kind of clicked when I was like, wait, I want to put my words over poems, but I want that to reflect who I am. And what bigger part of me than being an Ethiopian woman, right? So I was like, I have to go back to Ethiopia. I have to work with Ethiopian creatives. I want the album to have an Ethiopian sound.
Okay.
And so like, where else can I do that? So yeah, that's how I came here. I recorded at Dink Studios, worked with a very talented producer, Sammy Stickbreaker. And we were able to put together a 15-track album. And all the different, I learned so much about like just our music in general,
Yeah.
right? Like the different chords. When it's like a grief poem, there's like the hazan chords that they use at church. There's like, you know, just like chords that you would use for joy. And exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was like very special for me.
Immersed in the rich tapestry of my ancestral homeland, Ethiopia, where my roots were planted many generations ago. There, amidst the familiar sights, sounds, and scents, my purpose came.
When we see your album, we see you, so I just cannot see it lightly. So tell us, what are the projects that you have on hand?
So currently I am planning to put out, hopefully in a couple of months, a video for one of the tracks on the album. So, you know, because I think that's like another level, right? You have the music and then you have visuals. And I think that brings everything together.
Okay.
So I'm also recording that here. So hopefully that all comes together and I'll release that soon. So I'm working on a book that I plan on releasing next year.
Okay.
So 2026. And also, since I have like loved this idea of putting my words together with music, I want to get in the habit of putting out like singles, essentially.
Yeah.
So just like a poem over music, once in a while, like an artist would drop a single.
Yes.
So that's in the works too.
You cannot just pass by saying I'm about to release a book and you cannot expect me not to ask you what is it going to be about.
Yeah.
So is it going to be your path, like your journey?
So when I say it's going to be a mixture. So I released a poetry book, right?
Yeah.
So there will obviously still be ties of poetry, but I kind of want it to be like poetry, short stories, and take you on like basically the lessons that I've learned over the last like
I'm excited.
several years of my life. Yeah.
Excited.
watching me live my life, unapologetically chasing all my dreams while embracing every part of me is richer to them than any currency.
So let's talk about your album and the tracks that you have included in that album. Tell us what did you focus on?
So I wanted the album to be a true representation of me. And so I'm Ethiopian, I'm African, I'm Black, I'm a Black woman, and all of these things like make up who I am, and they're all things I'm very proud of. So it was important to me that I had tracks that people could listen to and both understand who I am as a person, but also find something that they can relate to, whether they have a similar background to me or not. So I want any immigrant daughter or any immigrant son to relate to the poem Daughter of Immigrants. You don't have to be Ethiopian. You don't even have to be African. I performed it in New York, and a South American girl came up to me and was like, had tears in her eyes and told me that she resonated with the message, right? Because you don't have to be me to understand my story. One of my favorite tracks is To Be a Black Girl.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a Black girl anthem. And I love, it's a bit of a different track on the album because it's so upbeat and like it's just like drums and very like, I don't know, it gives me like this energy. Yeah.
Say it, so please.
Well, I'm not gonna say the whole poem. We'll play it. You gotta listen to the album.
Okay.
It's the music is the part that makes it like so powerful, right? Like,
fair enough.
And so that's something I would love to do a music video for, just because I think like it's a powerful message that women can resonate with. You know, I also have a poem, Angels, in there. So that was, you know, about losing people in my life. And so that, I think musically, you go on this like journey of being like super upbeat and then you kind of come down to like these, you know, kind of more somber tones. Exactly. So it's representative of life. So yeah, I mean, I hope people just like listen to it from start to finish because I think it is like a full representation of me as a person.
True. You know, I feel like sometimes the whole point of being alive is to experience.
Sound right? Yeah.
It's about being willing to be shaped with what's coming on your way and understanding that nothing's gonna last.
Right.
So tell us the journey, or like tell us the way that you went through, especially like personality wise, to build the Debbie that we see today. Tell us, like, I want to know, because you're not that girl that you were like 11.
Not at all.
No,
not at all.
You're different. So tell us about your personal growth.
Yeah. So to be honest, I have my dad to thank for a lot of it because when I was young, like I said, I was very shy. And my dad was just like, I don't want her to be timid when she walks into rooms. So both him and my mom agreed to put me into drama classes.
Okay.
Imagine. So I was, I was like terrified in class. I didn't want to speak, but slowly I learned this like taking on a character and just like the confidence of owning a room.
Okay.
So while I was in theater school, like on the weekends, it was very much like just for performance. But then as I got older, I learned how to apply it. I was like, oh, okay. When I walk into a room, I, Debbie, might be nervous, but let me walk in with this character. It's almost like a fake it until you make it kind of thing.
Okay.
So now I don't feel like I'm faking confidence. I truly do have it in the person that I am. And a lot of that has been getting to know who I am. Like, I truly think until you love who you are as a person, everything is hard. Like, everything is really, really hard because you're constantly fighting. You're constantly battling against something. There's something in finding, and it's not necessarily a fake persona. It's just finding something deeper within yourself that maybe you don't tap into every day. But I feel like everybody has it.
I know. And it's like, when you really think about it, life is way beyond, right?
Oh, yeah.
To what you think is your final potential, you have something even way bigger.
100%.
And for God's sake, you only live once, so just
You only live once. 100%.
Right?
I believe in that.
Turning their struggles into strength songs. In Ethiopia's depths, where shadows have crept, where children once wept, now dreams are kept.
I want to know, especially when every one of us have our own mechanisms in which we use to express ourselves, or maybe heal ourselves, or be able to release that tension, that emotion within ourselves, that energy.
Yeah.
And I believe that is your poet, your pen, your notebook is what you release your emotions by.
Absolutely.
So tell us what poetry means for you.
Ooh, to be honest, poetry is like prayer to me. Like, it's very, very sacred. It's very sacred. I write a lot. Like, I actually challenged myself last year to write every single day for like a few months, and I did it.
Okay.
So like that was just a challenge for myself, but I just feel like now it's just like whenever my heart like tells me to write, I'll write. I don't share every poem, so every poem I write doesn't necessarily make like, you know, an Instagram post or the album or a book or something. Some of them are just written and nobody ever sees them. They're just like mine in my notes folder on my phone.
Okay.
But yeah, poetry is very, very, very sacred to me. And I feel like writing in general is.
How have you used it?
How have I used that?
Yes.
Girl, that's therapy. Like if something is stressing me out or if I'm overthinking or if I'm like really just like scared about something and if I don't write, I sit and I have this like weight on my chest and I can't figure out what's wrong. And then I'll like sit down, start writing. I'm like, oh, okay, that was, I just have to let it out.
Okay.
That's how I let it out. And mind you, I think it's important everyone finds their thing. Doesn't have to be writing, doesn't have to be poetry, but whatever it is, if it's, you know, going for a walk, if it's listening to music, if it's just like screaming and letting it out, if it's going to the gym, whatever it is, find your thing to release, because that built up tension, that's not healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before having this conversation, a lot of people have seen you on my page, like on our social media, and they're like, oh my freaking goodness, like, you know, Debbie, like you have no idea how much I love her. You have no idea how her work has helped me feel calm in a sense of knowing you're not the only one going through that. A lot of people go through the same emotions as a human beings, you know? So I want you to share your heartfelt emotion or advice, I don't know, for those upcoming poets that are trying to pop out and express their feelings. What do you have to say to them?
I know it's scary, but you have to do it scared anyway, because you have no idea who is waiting to hear your words for their life to be impacted in a positive way. So if you have a gift, don't be selfish. Don't hold on to it. Just share it with the world. That's why you're gifted.
Why do I feel like even the conversation feels like a poetry? Oh my God, Debbie, I'm telling you.
You're funny. Thank you.
Debbie, it's such a pleasure to have you on our show today.
Aw.
Thank you so much for sharing us your path. And I know this is just the beginning. I know you're going to represent Ethiopia, represent Black women in much bigger and higher states than you're representing right now. And thank you so much for being yourself.
Oh,
Thank you so much for
thank you.
Oh,
Thank
my
you
God.
for being yourself. No, stop, baby. No, thank you so much for having me. You know, I love your energy and I love like your passion and what you're doing with your show. I think it's very inspiring. So honestly, I'm honored to be a part of your show and a part of your journey.
Okay, wow, the pleasure is all mine. So, guys, I have nothing else to say for this week, My Africa episode. The rain is still raining, but the conversation is so hot, I didn't even feel the cold at all. Thank you so much for staying with us, and I'll see you guys next week. But till then, pursue your passion. The only time you have is now. Go ahead and do it. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.